Good afternoon, lovely people out there. I have a huge privilege to announce today our chat partner, who is the amazing Sarah Haywood from Sarah Haywood Weddings and Celebrations. Um, I believe 90% of the people who are in the wedding world know about your name, if not about the amazing weddings that you are doing. If not, then let me just tell you that you are named as a number one luxury destination wedding planner. You have done amazing weddings for royalties, high-end clients like throughout Europe, and maybe you will tell us also a little bit about exotic destinations where you have done weddings in. So first of all, thank you so much. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much. These are very extraordinary times that we live in and that we work in. And I think what is wonderful is the global wedding community has showed itself to be a very supportive environment for all of us. And it's amazing. Look, we can speak to each other from other sides of the world in lockdown. That's amazing.
Exactly.
Because we have time for that. We never had time before. This is
that is the only really, like, in a way, like, good things like for people like us, although it is quite, I mean, we're in desperate times for a lot of industries, but particularly also our wedding like industry is very hard hit. But maybe before we are talking about the current situation that we are in, I would actually like really love to get to know a bit more about your personal story. I mean, I have met you 10 years ago in London for the first time.
We came to my very first ever workshop at the Four Seasons in London Park Lane.
Exactly.
I remember it very well. I remember talking in the roof, having drinks on the roof. I remember.
Exactly. Yes. And I was sitting next to you and your husband, actually. So
and you know what I remember? There was a company, I just remember now, they made cookies. And exactly. And we still have this one little cookie that she gave you a sample cookie. Yes. This is not to eat anymore, but we still have this as a sample.
Whatever you do, don't eat it.
Yes, but like everything was really very sacred. Like when I came back from this trip and from this workshop, I said, like, I need to keep everything. But I want to like tap a little bit more into like, how did Sarah Haywood actually get into wedding planning? Like, how did she like personally like was able to actually live her maybe passion, or how did you actually get into the business?
It was a complete accident. I was in my first career, I was a broadcast journalist. I worked in television, exclusively in television. And so it's a very similar skill. So, you know, to put on a live television program or a live news broadcast, you need a running order. You need a time scale. You need to work to a budget. You need to be creative, imaginative. When things work, you need to let them breathe. When they don't, you need to pull them back. You need to be well organized. You need to be able to inspire and lead a team. It's the same skills. It's the same skills. Yeah. So while I was working at the TV station, I started to plan a few parties. Firstly, for them, actually, I planned a really big party for the 10th anniversary of the program I worked for. And they had a whole department that was supposed to deal with things like that, but we did it ourselves. And it was rather successful, though I say it myself. And friends had alongside asked me to help with their weddings and parties. So the first big event I ever did was a party, not a wedding. And it was the 70th birthday party for a friend of mine's father. And rather unprofessionally, I met my husband at it. Of course. So it just kind of happened. And I thought, gosh, I think I'm actually not bad at this. I think I could do it. And then I went freelance. I started writing about hospitality. And I wrote my first book, which was called The Wedding Bible. It's just still in print. The last few copies are available of the second edition. And I wrote it very much like a journalist would. And then in future editions, I revised it. And that kind of got me a foot in the door with big clients. I did my first celebrity wedding, and that gave me some traction. And we're talking of the dial-up days of internet. So we're talking about the days where when a bride got engaged or a couple got engaged, first thing they would do is go out and buy the pile of magazines, the days when the magazines had huge circulations, and they would buy the books. There weren't wedding blogs. Dial-up internet was expensive. We didn't sit there for hours surfing the net. So people,
So just tell us the date, Sarah. So just tell us the date, exactly the year.
The date that my book was published, I think my first book was published was either 2005 or 2006. So my first wedding I planned in 1998. I was doing that alongside still working in television, and I didn't really commit to it till around 2004, kind of like as a business. And this business, I think I was a sole trader to start with, but I incorporated the business, I think it was 2007, I think. Gosh, I should know things like that. It's just so long ago. So
no problem.
I was
like these days, everything looks like one big pile.
And I was extremely lucky with the timing, because with the lack of anything else out there, my book just went. And I mean, it sold extraordinary numbers of copies in the first couple of years, more in the first couple of years than all the other years put together, because in those days it was all that was available. So it gave me a leg up. Yeah. And to be very honest, I think that because I had a broadcasting and a journalistic background, I knew how to promote myself as an expert in my field. And I was probably speaking as an expert long before I should have been. And I think it took a long time for actually me and the business to truly be at the level that outwardly it appeared to be. And I did take that on board in the middle years, and I made a few very big mistakes and lost a lot of money. And I also didn't take the leap to moving the business into London, because I live about an hour outside of London. Where I'm speaking from you now is the original office, which is in my home. It's at the bottom of the garden of my home. I turned my screen around, or you'd see all the mess. But my home is sort of at the bottom.
Don't worry, we are the same right now.
So about 6 years ago, I dispensed with freelancers, because I was using a lot of freelance staff. And they're fantastic, don't get me wrong. But I think when you're running a business, your staff need to be loyal to you. And so I started to build a much bigger event team, my amazing event team. And they're all young. And you met some of them, didn't you, in Dubai? We were recently at a conference in Dubai, and you met the 3 core members of my team. Actually, they're the only 3 left now, because we've had to, another story, but which I'm sure we'll come to. So, it was very, very slow growth. And then it took off, and I had to learn to adapt. And to some degree, that was successful until this happened, until we were in the year of the coronavirus.
Yeah, it's amazing actually that we speak to so many people, and they like, I think very 95%. Little, 95% did not start off as a wedding planner, or even in the business, or even thinking about that. But they had a career path before, and everything that they have done before have actually prepared them better for the job as a wedding planner that they are doing currently, whether they were in finance, whether like you now, like more in communication, I'll call it media, is like how to present yourself and how you like really can make your business a lawyer, lawyer. So really that is quite interesting also for maybe people who think right now, and I think a lot of people are just really struggling with finding their own right space, and like thinking whether this is the right thing that they should be doing right now, that like life is not a straight line, life is really about a lot of curves and like hills and like slopes, and, really, everything prepares you.
It really, really is not a straight line. The one thing that I would change now is I would have made my mistakes whilst working for somebody else. And being a good wedding planner or wedding producer, as I like to call myself, or party planner or party producer, doesn't necessarily make you a good businessman or woman. And if you want to run a successful business, you absolutely have to grasp the fundamentals of what running a business is. So most of my time now, I don't spend planning parties. It's more the admin. And I've got to tell you, I don't feel that I have ever worked harder than I have in the last 16 weeks. It's been hell. And I tried to take last week off. It just didn't happen. I was even busier. And the problem with promoting, is that the right word? The problem with a profile is you have a voice, and it is I believe it is my obligation to use that voice. Today, for example, I face a really big dilemma. There are a lot of things I would really like to say that it would not be diplomatic for me to say about the situation that we're in, how we might have got into the situation, who is speaking for us, who is not speaking, who should be speaking. And I've just got to back the truck up and shut up and give positive advice and constructive advice. Because at the heart of this, at the heart of this, are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of couples globally who just want to get married. And the problem with our business is they don't need to know about that. And they just need to know that you don't do this job in this industry unless you have a passion for it. Well, you certainly won't survive unless you have a passion for it. And you certainly won't survive if you don't understand you work in hospitality.
Yeah. And I think you did a very, very, very brave call the other day to the Prime Minister. And I was at one point, I was like, yes.
I'm going to do another one after this. I'm going to do another one after this.
Yeah, I said, this is unbelievable. This is brave. This is passion. This is all what we need in our industry, because what we all say, like here in Europe, in America, we in our industry, we actually do not have really a lobby that speaks for us. You know, we are a bit like the forgotten industry. There's like a car association, or there is, even for the taxi industry, we have an association here in South Africa. They fight that the taxis can actually accommodate more than 5 people, but nobody is there to fight for the wedding industry, you know. And I think that's
so we've got to fight for ourselves.
To hear you,
we've got to fight for ourselves. And the thing that I've learned is, if there's a vacuum, someone will fill it. And if you want to be part of the conversation, you've just got to bang on the door yourself. And so that's what I'm doing. A private individual running a small business, and I happen to have a small following. I will use it to try and be heard. I had some success, by the way, because I did that.
Tell us.
I did do that plea to the Prime Minister, and I was invited to sit in on a virtual meeting last week. I was invited by an organisation here that represents wedding professionals, the National Association of Wedding Professionals, of which I'm a member, who have been doing a very good job of knocking on the door for their members. Of course, the whole world at the moment is full of unintended consequences. An unintended consequence of sort of putting my head above the parapet is people started firing at me saying, you don't represent me. Fair enough, I don't. And misunderstanding kind of what the climate is. And it's that if you don't belong to an industry body, don't expect them to speak for you. And if you represent an industry body, you need to bang on the door. And any of us can bang on the door. Any of us can email, call, publicly post the messages that we want to give the people who are our elected representatives. So I'm going to back the truck up, which is my expression of the day. I don't speak on behalf of anybody other than myself and my small business, and that I have a voice, I am going to use it. And I am entirely supportive of the people in my industry here at home who are banging on the doors and to some degree getting some results, but I don't think they're banging hard enough. Oh, and I think
but it's difficult. We recently actually also experienced that we at the end of the day, because there was no possibility, like the first weeks of lockdown, that people could not even get flowers, that nobody could sell flowers. Farms actually had to throw away flowers. So we came up with the idea to launch a petition and to send this to the president. And we for this, but we could also see it was like a very, very, very exhausting path, because nobody was working in the offices. You knock on doors that are actually closed, and it's really difficult. But that's why I absolutely appreciate what you have done. And sometimes it just needs a bang, you know. It don't need the step by step the normal thing. It needs a bang that people listen and wake up. Yeah.
And I'm done talking. And you are aware probably that they claim they're opening up the wedding industry. They're doing nothing of the sort. Another unintended consequence of them opening up places of worship was that they said places of worship, you know, churches, synagogues, mosques, temples, etc., they could open up and they could have 30 in the congregation. So they said, oh, are we allowed to do that for weddings and funerals? The government said, yes, of course you are, but only 25% of legal wedding ceremonies occur in places of worship. So people jumped up and down and said, well, what about all the people who have civil ceremonies? And the gay community jumped up and down saying, you know, well, that means we can't get married because their services are not legal in some of these places of worship. And so the government last week said, oh, okay, from the July the 4th, you can do your civil ceremonies, but it's ceremonies. It's just ceremonies for 30 people. I've got the guidelines, 11 pages of them. I mean, unless you're at the moment, 2 households can meet, but stay in their own social distancing bubbles. So if you're a bride and your father isn't in your household, he can't walk you down the aisle because of social distancing measures.
Oh my God.
They're talking about washing hands before the exchanging of rings. I rather facetiously want to ask them, what do they think that's going to happen on the wedding night? And then, you know, and I'm making a joke out of it, but honestly, washing their hands? Oh, okay. No music, no food, no dancing,
no singing even. I hear it. Like, I mean, I see Audrey Ametis, like she sent me this morning actually a copy of that, and when I was reading it, and I just said it to you before, I was actually like, wow, there is maybe a blueprint, like there is maybe something that is pointing into the direction, like what we can expect. But then when I read it like in full, I was like, oh my goodness, no.
This is allowing, it's nothing. It's allowing a very small number of people, for whatever reason, who just want to legally be married. And there are people who just want to do that, and for this will work. But this is not the opening up of the wedding industry. This is not the answer. And it just needs to be shut down, as this is how we're moving forward. And we urgently, this week, we need clarity about the weddings that are planned for July, August and September, the busiest months in the UK wedding calendar, where literally tens of thousands of couples are still waiting. They have been waiting since March. We can't say, oh, wait a little long. They need to say, even if it's to say these weddings will not take place, and it really does look like that's what they're saying. We've got cities gone back into lockdown overnight because the virus is spiking again in certain regions. They need to be clear. They need to say you can or you can't get married, and let these couples move on. And the industry is completely paralyzed. And I know we're not alone in the UK with that. We are completely paralyzed. And until we have clarity, we can't move forward. We've had winter in the UK, obviously, quiet time in winter, followed by no wedding season of any kind of meaning this year. I predict we will not have any kind of moving forward this year. And then we have to go into another winter. We need support as an industry. We are a special case. Weddings are a rite of passage. And we are here to support that, and we want to still be here the other side, because people aren't going to stop getting married. So if government support us, you know, we've got figures. I won't bore you with it now, but there are figures of what the wedding industry is worth. And if we can produce those weddings next year, the government's going to get it back in tax. They have got to support us to get to the other side, and they've got to give us clarity.
Yes, and because I mean, but by the end of the day, people are right, like couples, like, you know, and this is, I think, also the real bad situation that I personally feel in as a wedding planner. We have couples and we have all of our suppliers, and on the other side we have governmental regulations. People turn to us like really on a very personal level towards like support and advice. And like from the bottom of my heart, I cannot give them even an advice or like a direction to even say, you know what, I believe that by, I don't know, September, like November, December, whatever month it may be, but I cannot even tell them that, you know what, we can maybe look forward to like postpone your wedding like to December, to January. I mean, we are lucky in the sense that we are going back into season like after September. So, but nonetheless, I mean, the situation in Africa here is quite maybe different also from Europe, where we don't have any social security systems really that can back anything up. So any entrepreneur is really like on their own 2 feet, and they need to see how they can make money and how they can basically bring food to the table of their families. So it is quite a complete different situation maybe than in some other parts of Europe. But nonetheless, I personally also, like as a wedding planner, like I feel that there's no one to turn to. Like there is like maybe a tourism body that says, you know what, for destination weddings, we may be able to say, you know, like traveling is not allowed. But even for that, right now here in Africa, at least, we do not know when normal like leisure traveling will be allowed and resume again. So how can I tell a destination couple?
That's
so how can
nobody knows. So tell us what you do know. Let's work on a roadmap together that we can implement as and when, but they can't just suddenly say, oh, okay, next month you can do weddings for 100 people.
Yes, exactly. Because the weddings that we do, or the weddings that you do in particularly, I mean, this takes months and months of planning, you know? Like you cannot just say.
Sometimes I do them in very short time. I'm not doing another, my next event is May next year. I've got no weddings until May next year.
Yeah, but also it needs planning. Yeah. Carry on. Sometimes there is a delay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying I have postponed every single wedding on our books until next year. Our first event is May next year. I did that in April because without a vaccine or without a treatment, people will not have confidence to travel. I'm now wondering if May was premature, to be honest.
Yeah, we have the same situation here in South Africa, and as Alfie said, like 100% of our real weddings, like the bigger weddings, are postponed for next year. We have some smaller, like really small 5 people, 6 people, more like elopement kind of events, like from the next weeks onwards. But people also need to plan, like their guests need to plan, you know, when they come on a wedding. I think it's not like that you go there tomorrow or next week. And I think when it comes to even international weddings, we have a wedding planned for March next year from a European couple. We don't even really know if March will be possibly this wedding will be possible, because the flight situation, like what we have here for international flights, the tourism will only be allowed from next year onwards. So that means, like, what is next year? You know, there is so much uncertainty. And I think a lot of our planners here, and this is, at one point it is good that they are very creative, but at the other point it is very, very sad that they have to find own ways. We have wedding planner, they do complete different jobs. We have wedding planner, they sell like flower bunches now just to survive. You know, I mean, like, this is the situation that we have here.
I think that it's obvious that our governments do not know what's going to happen. That I accept. And we know we can't have answers as to when this will all end. But we need support to keep going. And as I already said, we know we've got clients. We know people will still get married at the end of this. And we need help to still be there. And our governments will get that back in taxes. They will get it back. But if we collapse, we will not get it back. They will have all the implications of an entire collapsed industry. And I don't know about very much about the UK wedding market and the UK wedding industry outside of the UK and Europe. But what I do know is here, It is made up of many, many, many small and micro businesses. Fantastic individuals, couples, and small businesses who this is what they do and this is their life. And you don't do this. You don't give up pretty much every Saturday and weekend of your life because it's a drag.
You're not passionate. Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that the people who we work for, our couples, they deserve, for having stayed at home and done what they were told, for having put themselves through this. And it's a rite of passage, a wedding, you know, the time you marry, to celebrate it. And it is your right to celebrate it in the way that your culture or your religion or your sexual orientation, I don't like to use the word dictates, but what, you know, in that tradition, in those customs. And one size doesn't fit all. It doesn't. And government needs to help us release these couples from their contracts, so that they are not penalised for not wanting this nonsense. And it's nonsense for not wanting this. At the heart of this, when you get married, you want to be able to hug and kiss your friends and family.
Exactly.
You want to be able to dance. You want to celebrate great food and music. And incidentally, I can't imagine an Asian or an African wedding without a lot of noise and music and dancing and large numbers of people. I can't imagine a Jewish wedding without any singing.
Exactly.
One size just doesn't fit all. And these couples need us to still be here. And they deserve that because they did what they were told and they stayed at home. And I can't imagine the anxiety all these months, not knowing if you can have your wedding next month. And somebody must at this point know that they're not going to allow gatherings of 40, 50, 75, 100, 500, 1,000. They must know now that that is not going to happen in July, August, or September. So just say so. Just say so.
Yeah. This is also a kind of clarity.
Yes. To not allow weddings until a certain like date is also like, as my mom said, it's like it's clarity. Even though if we say, okay, maybe from that point onwards we don't know how to like proceed, but then at least everyone knows, okay, because now it's like, okay, you have the hopes, and a lot of people actually, or a lot of couples, they have lost hope already because they do not even know like what is going to be next. I mean, the worst thing that any couple in this world can experience is that there is something out of their control, like the same thing as a planner, out of their control, that they cannot like somehow like say, okay, fine, like now we didn't plan for this, but now we're taking this as it is, but like where from here, you know, like, am I going to like send new save the date cards out? Am I going to like just uninvite everyone? No, we still want to celebrate. And this is, I think, like across cultures, across borders, across like anything, there are just couples that want to celebrate their love for each other. There are families that want to celebrate that they are like united as one. And I think that is like, I don't want to call it a certain freedom, but this is just a simple wish, you know, for so many people that there are in the world, and it's just, it's just very tiring, I think.
Can I ask you a question? Sorry, just carry on.
No, you carry on.
Now, I wanted to ask you a question. Actually, when you say we need support, and I mean, we are all at the same page. We all need support from our government. But when you say we need support, what is it exactly what you would wish? What is the support?
Financial support to keep our businesses going. And I have to say, the UK government have done a lot to support small business, a lot. There are in our industry a lot of people who've fallen through the net, but you know, we have a very generous furlough scheme, but one size does not fit all. We are a special case. We can't just get back to work. They're saying they're opening up and go back to work next month. To do what? To plan what? To reinvent the wheel. You know, I was starting to think, well, we could do small at-home celebrations, and we'll do a few. I dare say some of our clients will want that. That's not what I do. That's not what I do. And so we need some financial support. It could be a furlough scheme. I actually think what the government could do instead of a furlough scheme is a job scheme where if you bring your employees back to work, they contribute to their pay. I'm not asking them to completely see it, but help. Then we can start thinking about what we're doing, opening up, work on the planning of the events next year, so that when, I mean, I do expect that when this is all over, we're all going to be very busy, but we need to be there. And we need to, the wheels need to keep turning. They need oiling. And my team are twiddling their thumbs and they are bored. And I'm worried that they need to get back into the groove. But there's nothing. So we need support when the scheme ends in October, at the end of October. And hospitality, weddings are not like opening up a restaurant. They're not like opening up. They're using the blueprint for social distancing for us. And we are not. We are different. Some people have suggested that weddings should be a special case because we know the guest list, so we can track and trace. I actually personally believe that is fraught with complication. I think it works for venues, but I don't think it works for planners and many suppliers, because you know what happens if your photographer is from Leicester, where at the moment they're back in lockdown, but the wedding is out of Leicester, so you can't come. It's fraught with unenforceable or unrealistic protocol that we can't just say, look, we're being told here to prepare for another outbreak in the winter. We're being told to prepare for social distancing measures to be in place for a long time. Well, just say weddings can't go ahead. Just say it. Just say it.
Yeah.
And then the insurance companies are going to have to step up to the plate, which they're not doing.
This is a real fact. Insurance companies. But maybe we can go like one step back from the current situation, so we really all on the same page. No, I mean, we're really all on the same page. And I mean, there's people, they fight for the survival. I mean, that's not that's a very serious case, fighting for the survival of your company. And not everyone has the capability or the power or the finances to exactly, to do something else, or to just move on for another 6 months, you know. I mean, that also need to be taken in consideration when we talk about that. And there's small, like most of us are small family businesses. There's maybe a few big like companies, they have also different resources, but in the most of the cases it's small like family businesses where the whole family sometimes even on the edge, because there's
because all the eggs were in one basket, you know.
Exactly.
I mean, all the family members like we're working towards one goal. But what did you want to say?
I wanted to say, like, like when we go one step back, what, like, beside the current challenges, which is completely different, what was maybe an event that challenged you most, which you still remember and say, oh my goodness, that was a challenge, but I made it?
Many events have been like that. They're usually the ones that are done quite last minute. My clientele tend to plan quite last minute. So we did a very big wedding, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, in the winter, in the snow, 800 guests, 7-week lead time. 7 weeks to bring people from Asia to Europe to a ski resort in the snow for several days. We built an entire winter wonderland, and that was, we were still having that signed off while we were building it. That was very, very challenging, and afterwards I felt, God, did that really just happen? A really wonderful client that was, and I think those are the challenges, but I love those kinds of challenges, logistical challenges. And the wonderful thing about our clientele is when they say they want something extraordinary, they mean it. And you can do a lot of out of the box thinking and come up with some really extraordinary ideas, like building a winter wonderland on a car park and making it look like the winter wonderland in London, but prettier. you know, when you propose that to a client who has the resources to put it on, it's just so incredibly rewarding afterwards. For me, you know, that's the time. Sometimes I pinch myself when I'm there and I'm like, my goodness, did we really just do this?
Yeah, exactly. You look at the pictures and you say, really? That was us?
And the other thing that I find challenging, and that I remember this kind of all the way through my career, is not it's not challenging. I put a positive spin on it. I think the best weddings, and I'm not talking about what they look like, I'm talking about the best weddings, are produced when the team is right. And that I don't think there is any crime in knowing and acknowledging that some people don't work as well together. And one of the wonderful things about being a producer is you can put different teams of people together, and you know, oh, for this type of event, these people would be great and they work really well with these people. They don't work so well with that person, but they work. And that's how we add a little bit of diversity. And it also gives an opportunity, if you can run a really strong team that you know is really strong, it gives an opportunity to give new talent an opportunity to come in. Because if you've got really great people who work really well together, there's room to support a new person. And I'm really proud that my company has supported lots of new businesses, some of whom, you know, are really, really well known. And that gives me so much pleasure and so much pride. And I remember people did that for me. I remember the people who, when I really was the silly girl with the clipboard, just maybe saw something in me and supported me and helped me. I was once a one-man band. Never do that, by the way, if you're watching this because you want to be a wedding planner. You never, ever show up alone. Sorry, something's popped on my screen. I'm just getting rid of it. And I find that the most rewarding part of it, to support other businesses who deserve a break. And then it adds variety and it helps us constantly change. And that's the exciting thing about this industry, the diversity of it, the cultural diversity, the religious diversity, the everything. It encompasses absolutely everything. So it's a complete joy to immerse yourself in.
That's amazing. And I think, like, I mean, I personally, I fell in love with you like more than 10 years ago. So I really like the way how passionate you are about your business. Yeah. But what I also want to say, and I think that is amazing, you know, that it doesn't take away from your own light to let other like suppliers or people shine. You know, I think that is just something that is beautiful, like a beautiful approach to also give people a platform and give people like the chance to just like show what they are capable of. Can I ask you one thing, because that is actually something that I'm really interested about. Now, when this client came to say, you know what, I want a winter wonderland, where do you get your inspiration from when you have those challenging like clients, obviously, or when you maybe also have to set the bar for yourself every time a little bit higher? Because obviously there is a lot of pressure like on the business, like as a luxury like wedding planner. So people want to always have it different, better, more interesting, more exclusive, more high end. Like, where do you personally like go? Is it like, do you find inspiration in the garden, under the shower? I don't know. Like, how do you think about those weddings?
It's every single person I work with, and you can't achieve those sorts of events unless they're collaborative. So you put the people in a room who have to produce it with you, and you bounce ideas off one another. And usually what you came up with at the beginning isn't what you end up with, but you have to be open. You have to let everybody take ownership for the event. These aren't my events. These are the events of an entire team who put them together. Yes. I'm fortunate enough to be able to put my name to them because I'm the person that assembles the team. But the best ideas aren't mine. They're not. I listen to other people, to what they have to say. And I have an amazing team who listen to other people, what they have to say. And there's some incredible creative minds in this industry. And I also did an event quite recently where we were not supported how am I going to put this? We were not supported by the people managing the site.
Okay.
And it was a real lesson to me in the power of speech and communication. Because they kept repeating to us, you're never going to, well, in the planning of this event, they told me the plan was too ambitious. And I said to them, you know, this client has not come to us because they don't want something ambitious or safe. They want the extraordinary. And then while we were doing it, they did not support us. And they kept telling me we wouldn't make it. And I've never, ever feared we wouldn't make it. It's never crossed my mind that we won't make it.
Yes.
And for a brief moment on one particular day, I got caught up in that. I was like, are we going to make, I went to the designer and the florist. I was like, are we going to make it? And they looked at me and he's like, why are you asking me that? It's not helpful. And I said, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Enough. I've been listening and I refuse to listen to them anymore. I refuse to engage in the conversation anymore. But I learned from it the power of what I say to people. And if I show any fear, yeah, and I am quite scared sometimes, if I do show any fear or doubt or I'm unsupportive, the power of a word to have the opposite to what the result needs to be. And I'm still learning that a lot. And right now I'm having to learn it. And what's difficult for me right now is I feel very anxious and I feel exhausted and I am not there to support my team because they're all on furlough. And I haven't spoken to them, any of them. No, I've spoken to 2 of them on WhatsApp, but I haven't spoken to them collectively for coming up 2 weeks. And that's really bad. That's really, really bad. So I need to address that quickly. But I'm feeling that the business I had, where I had a lot of support, it's just all on me. And this feels like the beginning. This feels like how I used to feel in the early years. It's very familiar, the feeling. And the burden. And then my husband this morning said to me, I woke up to like literally hundreds of direct messages on social media from couples who are, you know, not couples that we're planning with. And because I put my head above the parapet and said, I hear you, they're talking to me. And my husband said, just stop now. Just look after your own business. And I just said, that's not me. That's not in my DNA to do that. But I need to somehow find some balance. And I can't fix this. I can't. But I do have a voice and I need to use it occasionally. And when I've really got something to say. Otherwise, I need to.
And I think, yes, and I think, you know, sometimes even, I mean, I don't want to say that, like, you might feel that no one is listening, but sometimes, and I also want to say this to, like, smaller people who might think, I'm not Sarah Haywood, you know, I do not have a voice. I have no one who is listening to me. I think we all have a voice, like whether we, I don't know, 10,000 followers, 5, 15, you know. Yes, I think, and collectively, you know, like when we all put our voices together and we are shouting out the same thing, this is the power that basically changes anything. Like, and I think, like, people just need to know that, like, I think it resonates when you just hear it, but you shouldn't be scared of also just verbalizing it, you know, saying it like, this is what I think right now, or this is what we need, or this is what I see is right or wrong. I think that is very powerful and very, very important.
Yeah, and it's also very important, like, and I take my hat off from you for you, because you are so honest and so like
human,
you
know?
Yeah. And you know, we invited a couple of people, and some of them said, listen, I'm not yet ready to talk to you because I'm not ready to talk to anyone. I just don't want to talk to anyone. And what you said, just like with your team, I can imagine, because you feel the pressure of
I don't know what to say to
am I
them.
going
I don't know
what am I going to talk to them?
Yes.
And I think
because like every client, you know, like your team is like when you are an entrepreneur, it's
they're like my children. I love them.
Yes. And they're gonna ask you, they're gonna look at your big eyes and they want to know, like, okay, Sarah,
they want me to
us,
fix
how
this.
are we going to continue?
And
but Sarah, let me say this to you. I like maybe like in a way of a colleague, but also like as a somehow as a friend. Take the pressure off yourself. Take it off. No, it's really
story
true.
of my life.
It is, no, it is true, because when you put the whole pressure on you alone, you can talk to your team and just say, listen, we have to go step by step. Just today we talk about random things, like just like what maybe we have done, what we plan, and then go step by step and take it step by step. I think it's for everyone, it takes a different time to come back to a certain normality. We are like the both of us, we are also like some days we feel so exhausted. We have done nothing really like what is somehow like what
could give us a reason to be tired.
Yes, exactly. But we are.
And I think that that's actually what the heart of all this is. We're in a global pandemic and we're all feeling socially isolated, socially distant, but we're socially isolated. This is not the same as being in a room with you. There is an invisible
110%.
There is a visible barrier. And at the beginning, we all thought it was fabulous. Oh my goodness, look how much work we can get done. We can be on Zoom. I am craving human company. You know, I'm in my little bubble.
You know, like just a touch, and you know, this is the saddest part. Like I think when
because we are people's people.
Yes, in
this
our
is
business,
exactly what
like,
we are.
We thrive when we have people around us. You know, I mean, what we do is we do it for like the love of other people. Like our business just works because we are making other people happy, and we want to see it. We want to like talk to them.
I don't even like partying. I like planning the party. I like organizing it, being there, running it. I don't care about partying. I'm the person, I'm the facilitator. And I feel like, you know, I'm being deprived of oxygen a little bit. And, you know, the other thing we haven't touched upon, which we couldn't possibly have this conversation without touching upon it, is this huge movement that's going on around us. The Black Lives Matter and all the other communities that feel marginalized. And I don't believe in tokenism. And it's like, this has to be addressed alongside all the issues that we're all already happening, that are all already happening. And we can't wait. We can't like not address it now. And I thought, I've just got to get on and address it. Think about how I interact with one another, with other people. Think about, you know, what messages I may inadvertently be giving because I think these things don't apply to me. And so there's all that going on as well. And it is exhausting. It's exhausting. And we're at the we're in the middle of a big change. A big change all over the world. And the next generation, you know, the young people coming through now, they care about the planet. They care about how they leave it. And all that's going on. They want a different world when we come out of the other side of this. So we've also got to think about how we interact with our fellow man, how we work alongside the planet so that it's still here for us. And we've got to do all this in the middle of a global pandemic. And we've got to do it. We can't not do it. We have got to do it, and we'll be irrelevant if we don't. In fact, we don't deserve to come back if we're going to ignore these things. We don't deserve to come back. And so there's a lot to think about all the time. And they're big things that you can't just give an answer to. They're big things.
Yes. No, and I think that is also like we are thrown like from one pandemic, like in the sense to another one, in the sense that, you know, we have to deal with a health pandemic, where we see the the numbers all around the world. We see it's real, although we cannot touch it. Like it's not something that it's tangible, you know. But we see the numbers, and we understand that our clients and our suppliers and like the venues we work with and everyone is sort of afraid because they also don't know how to like secure really the safety for people and guests and everything. And then we have like sort of like on top of the pandemic, we have an issue that is
another pandemic.
It's a pandemic, but it goes so deep into history and so deep into like people's perspective with respect and like integrity, and like it's not something that you can really change from today to tomorrow. And I think that is also something why it makes us so tired, because like we're gonna think like, okay, we're gonna survive the pandemic, now we have something else to actually deal with. But it is the right time, because I think now, like, if we come out of this on the other side, we really have won. Not only the pandemic, we really have won as human beings. We have won as individuals, as people, how we see, how we want to communicate to other people, how we want to treat our clients, our suppliers, and just what values we are actually living by. And I think that is just very like, in normal sense, it would be even exciting to say, you know what, I'm going to set my rules. I'm going to really make something that says, this is what I want to do for my business and for my environment and the people that I live with. But right now it is scary to a certain point. And I think that is why it's also taking a lot of energy from us. But you are right. I mean, we live in South Africa where we have more than 80% like non-white people, you know, so we are dealing with like already like a lot of diversity, a lot of things that maybe from a European perspective is not even so common. But like living here, we also like know what it means to really be inclusive, you know, to really let also like different teams of different backgrounds be part of the success, to just also give them a platform and to also like let them shine and like just give them a chance, you know. Because I mean, right here, not even every business is a formal business. There are many informal businesses. Nonetheless, like everyone needs to be part of the overall success, you know. For example, for guest gifts, and I'm just saying this, you know, why I need, when I'm doing a destination wedding, why I need to bring in something from someone if I can like organize something locally, like, you know, let the local people participate. Like let them be a share of like of the little piece of souvenir that you're taking home. You know, you're making not only an impact on the local economy, you're making an impact like in terms of really spreading and sharing
and helping smaller businesses to survive. I mean, like even if it's a beadwork, if it's a fragrant like soap or whatsoever, you know, like what very small local businesses do. I think that is something what we could actually talk in a totally different story. Maybe we can just like also introduce Sarah to a recent platform that we launched. Tell her maybe like if for the future of the businesses, maybe we could work in a certain way together.
Well, maybe let's one question before. I want to know from you, and like going a little bit back into actually your passion, and this is creating amazing memories for people who want to celebrate, and that in an extraordinary setting. What would you say was your most perfect setting in terms of location? Like where did you have like the most beautiful like event where you say, you know what, because I mean an event is not only about the guest and the theme, it's like really needs to tie in the environment, where it's located and all the rest. And we know we can have clients maybe sometimes that say, you know what, like give me a winter wonderland, I want to have it there. Maybe inside of you, you would think this is not the right place, but if you want it, I can do it, no problem. So where as a location, like would you say this was really a beautiful event because everything tied in beautifully together? And I mean, you have done like hundreds of those, but maybe one place where you say this was really most memorable for yourself.
Well, I'll never say that because I wouldn't want to alienate all the other people that I've worked for. And I wouldn't want anyone to think that to me, one wedding was more special than another. But
no,
I think in terms of locations and what makes them special, it's when you have respect for where you are. Like you said, you don't want to put a winter wonderland by the sea in the south of France. If you're by the sea, respect that you're by the sea. Have something that goes with that. If you're in an Italian vineyard, you know, we're not looking for the Preston Bailey look in an Italian vineyard. And it's about having respect and consideration for the environment that you're in, rather than the Pinterest cut and paste wedding, or as our dear friend Marcy Bloom would say, the cookie cutter wedding. And I think that's what makes them good. And I can tell you as a guest, the best wedding I ever went to was some friends of mine that I was at university with, and they got married in a very simple little church up in Derbyshire in England, and they had a wedding reception on the village green, and they had no money, so they cooked chili con carne all week, and they had it in huge vats. They put paper cloths on trestle tables, and they hired a ceilidh, and we danced outside on a warm summer's evening. And their wedding had heart, it had soul, it was celebratory, and it perfectly reflected them. And I think those are the best weddings. And I think back to those weddings. When a wedding truly reflects who the couple are, their style, their values, who they are as individuals as well as a couple, the nods to their cultural heritage, their orientation, whatever it might be, all those things. And that have heart at the center of them, things where every sense is touched when you walk through the door. Those are the events that move them from the ordinary to the extraordinary and personalize them and make them unique.
That also means not always just expensive or exclusive wedding is the wedding with the most memorable memories, feelings.
Throwing money at it is helpful, but it's not necessary. I say throwing money is helpful, but it's not necessary.
Yes, and I think it's always about a feeling, and a feeling, you can create atmosphere, but you cannot pay for a feeling, you know, like this needs to come also from the couple, from the guests that actually attend the wedding. I mean, they make it all like complete, you know. You can set the stage,
make happy
as
wedding.
a wedding planner. Yeah, you can set the stage, but like the people, they make actually the wedding perfect.
People, the guests, the bridal couple, they will define the success or otherwise of your event. That's it. You can throw anything at it, but if people don't have a good time, I used to say, I used to use an expression. I used to say, you know, if you want a happy wedding, don't stick a $10,000 floral arrangement in front of somebody who's eating a cheap chicken dinner, because they'll remember the cheap chicken dinner. They won't remember the floral. And then, you know, I always think things like, what are the washrooms like? I'm constantly checking washrooms, because if a dirty washroom, an untidy washroom, that's what they'll remember. They won't remember the gorgeous flowers. They'll think, oh, that was disgusting. So those are the little things that I like to think about.
Yeah,
you are so right. Yes.
Can I then maybe rephrase my question? Is there, like, independent of any clients, but is there a dream destination where you would say, wow, if a couple would come and really would ask me if I could do a wedding there, I would really...
A safari wedding.
Sorry?
A
safari wedding.
Oh, wow. Really?
My dream. Well, you know, I've got two dreams. You know my other dream. My other dream is that in my lifetime, we can do a wedding in space, and that I plan it. You know, that's my dream. I told people that the last time. So that's my dream.
Yes.
To do the first wedding in space. Elon Musk.
We cannot help you with this one, but we might actually be able to help you with the safari.
Exactly.
Well, we're going to work on flowers. We're going to work on shipping flowers maybe to the space.
To the space,
yeah.
Amazing. Yes, because, and this, like, maybe this is what you wanted to just say. We launched a platform, Weddings in Africa, because generally, just to show the beauty of Africa for people from all around the world. I mean, we are in South Africa right now. We are here for more than 22 years already. And I think, and this is also why we want to bring the world to Africa. And thank you so much for talking to us. But we also want to bring like the world, like the Africa to the world, you know, to the, like the other side. And I think like generally for weddings and also like looking at trends, maybe not just for like high, like net worth clients, but I think for like some other clients, Africa is really like a very adventurous type of wedding, you know, because I mean, I believe that like high net worth clients, like Africa might not be the right choice because just for what they want to do and what they want to portray, but they are amazing luxury high-end possibilities for weddings in Africa. And like I really want to show the world what is possible, that people don't think like, oh, Africa, and do they actually have certain standards? Do they have like now, I mean, health and safety is going to be huge in the coming month and time, just because of the pandemic that we are like in, that there are certain standards that venues adhere to, that suppliers have, that we can like pull off amazing weddings here in Africa, that will like leave clients and their guests just in awe and want to return, not only for maybe holidays and stuff, because I believe, and I don't know, have you ever been in Africa? I believe when you have been here once, you really like, you really will take a piece of Africa back home.
Yeah, stays with you for sure. Yeah, it does.
Yes. And I think like that's also something what clients maybe for the future can consider if they think about a wedding or a destination for their wedding where they can get the most like value for their money. Like in Africa, we can supply luxury for like a good value of
we've
money.
got to be able to travel before all this can happen. We've got to be able to travel, and we've got to have confidence to travel.
Definitely. But there is countries like here in Africa where we actually have heard that weddings can take place,
but we've got to get
where the pandemic not has hit so much. But however, this is we spoke from the past, we spoke at the current situation. We are speaking a little bit about the future, even though that's a little bit uncertain, but also a part of our job is dreaming and make dreams come true. And if we would not have the possibility to dream, like then we don't have any reason to get up in the morning out of bed, I would say.
That's the trouble.
Can I ask you, and maybe this is for the final question, maybe this is a very difficult question, or maybe it's very easy for you to answer. Sarah Haywood has done amazing weddings all over the world, and your aim is to maybe have a wedding in space, and I know you've also followed like a lot what like Elon Musk and like everyone was doing there. What is the trend that you are seeing for weddings going forward? Also maybe like taking into consideration the pandemic, that people maybe relate more to their families, that they maybe like consider smaller weddings, more intimate weddings. Like what do you see maybe as a tendency, or what do you expect to happen over the next 2 years?
We don't know, but I hazard a guess that couples will be looking for the meaning of their celebration to be at the heart of the celebration. They will want to be kind and respectful to their fellow man and to the planet. And it won't be what it looks like. it won't be the Pinterest cookie cutter weddings that so many people have got away with. These people will get married now because they really want to. And the wonderful thing about what we do is when this recovery happens, we will be at the heart of it, because this is the kind of event that will signal that it is over, and we will be able to celebrate with families. And that's what a wedding's all about. It's an affirmation of the very concept of family, where we celebrate that and we celebrate friendship. So, you know, I can't wait. I know I've got to wait. I know it's not going to be soon. And I'm just thinking about remembering that when we emerge from this hideous, hideous time.
Yeah. Then I wish you all the best in actually addressing the issues that has come out on this government directive, because I do believe you have a big job to address a lot of things that I have read in there, which just not make us happy, but most importantly, do not make couples happy. And I believe, I mean, you know, and this is why we're looking like at the UK from a lot of angles. Whatever is going to happen in the UK might have a ripple effect on many other countries, because we're going to look at how other countries have been dealing with the situation right now. And the UK, for many things, is a role model to us, at least in Africa. There is a certain like connection that we have. So I strongly hope, and I do believe that maybe there is change that is possible if all the voices that are out there are speaking collectively and with like as one. Because at the heart of everything is that we want to make people happy. You know, I think this is what all our end goal is. We do not want to harm anyone. We of course want to have it in a rather safe environment, but by the end of the day, we want people to allow to be happy and to share the love with their loved ones.
We do, and we will celebrate again. We will.
Yes,
we will. Then, and I have a question. Maybe if you have still a little bit time and you are in the mood, maybe write a script for a book for a wedding in the space. I would be very interested to share that.
Okay, I'm going to focus on that as well. The first wedding in space. Done.
Yes.
Done. Because you are a visionary. You have shown us you are a visionary, and that's your vision. And I think that drives you. And one day we will watch that you go to
I don't need to go. I'll be in mission
we will
control.
try. I can tell you that we will try, as the first company, we will try to send flowers for your wedding.
Okay, let's do it, ladies. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. Lots of love to all our South African friends, and I wish you a happy lockdown.
As happy as we can be. But thank you so much for your time, Sarah. It was
thank you, guys. Thank you.
And appreciate it. Stay healthy and all the very best. Thank you so much.
Stay safe. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.